Mr. Brandon Jackson of the Step Brothers nonprofit. Just to get back into your interview, you were basically just saying how you were hearing similar stories of guys who have been through what you've been through. You don't have to tell anyone's names, but can you just touch on some of the stories that you heard?
You still have a lot of guys that's going through it. Like, I remember it was had to be in 99, the year of 1999. An individual that slept beside me in a dormitory. You know, you don't ask people in prison why they locked up. You know, that's something you don't do. But, you know, after sleeping by him for so long, you know, we share things, talk, become eating buddies, you know, whatever. So he was in there for rape. But the woman that they said he raped was his wife. But when he explained it to me, he eventually left her for another woman. And, you know, to make a long story short, she was doing everything, trying to get him back or make his life miserable. One day, he said that she called him to come and fix her sink. You know, it was overflowing bad. And he said that when he went over, you know, she opened the door looking nice, and he went in, seeing that wasn't nothing wrong with the sink. He eventually laid down with her, you know, they had sex. And once he left, the next day he said that police came to his job and apprehended him and charged him with rape and everything. And she testified on him and everything. But he had explained to him, he said he didn't rape her. He ended up getting multi-bill and they gave him a life sentence. And keep in mind that he's black and she's white. And she was coming to see him, to visit him in the visiting shed. She was coming to visit him after, you know, a while. After he was convicted. But it was like later on down, they, you know how you start back writing each other, communicating. And she, like I said, to make a long story short, she signed an affidavit and said that she had lied. But the little town that he fell out of, the judge didn't accept the affidavit because he felt like he manipulated her to
make a statement.
To make that statement, change that statement. You know, that's why affidavits now is nothing but a document that basically you just scribbling on because they don't have to accept it. You know, a lot of times they not accepting it, you know. But, you know, it was just stories like that, other stories that I heard. And like I said, you know, when you're in prison, you know, all you got is your word, you know. So I'm not the judge, I'm not the DA, I'm definitely not no police. So you don't have no reason to lie to me. Plus, I didn't ask you for it. But, you know, when you show documentation and you read, you be like, man, yeah. You know, when you can see the affidavit, you know, you be like, man, this cold-blooded. You know, and you go in the shed and you see the one that has him in prison sitting there, you know, on the other side of the table, you know. It's all kind of stories, you know. But you got a lot of prisoners that's actually innocent. And I'm going to show you something else that been, you know, solidifies that fact. Look at all the individuals that had been getting out on DNA testing. You know, but think about the ones that's been locked up 40, 50 years on those type of charges, but you know, DNA wasn't even considered back then, and their cases are so old right now. It can't even be found. Like it was by the grace of God that they found my case, because my case wasn't, when they came to do the documentary, it wasn't in the computers or nothing like that. They had to go off into, the basement and basically go through all of these documents and boxes from 1996. And that's where they found that VCR tape statement, and they implemented it and showed it, within the documentary that they had did on me, Brandon Jackson's convictions. And like I said, basically they'll see from A to Z where, they'll be able to determine. I leave that determination up to them.
Okay.
I would like to hear, feedback, the truth.
Yes. Wow. Next question. What changes did you make within yourself to become the man that you are today?
I started educating myself. I changed my circle. I started being, like I said earlier, Brandon. I just got away from all the negativity, because it had came to a point to where it almost broke me one time. I remember I was in the cells for 5 years straight. No TV, no radio. And then at that time, this was like the worstest part of Angola. It was known as Camp J. You didn't have access to nothing. You was confined in a cell 24 hours a day, but you was let out 1 hour. You had to shower, use the phone, and go back in your cell. And I'll never forget the day that I received a death certificate from an inmate, because back there, even though the pastor's supposed to bring you a death certificate, they'll stay at the head of the T and give it to an inmate to bring you, And you know how we are. Some of them just leave it in the bar. Hey man, get up here, So when you open it, but I had lost my great grandmother, Miss Virgil Small. I had tattooed her name on my arm. She was born in 1909, and she passed in '03. She had never even drove a car in her life. She escaped slavery, came over here. All she used to like to do was just ride the bus, go to church, cook on Sunday, make sure all of us come over there and eat. But she was raped while I was in prison. And when I had got that letter from my mom and I got that death certificate, it really, it tore me up. It really messed me up. And this when I knew, and like I said earlier, solidified the fact that, there is a God. My great-grandmother had never failed in her life. And keep in mind, after she, went through what she went through, she didn't want to go talk to nobody, sit and talk to nobody. Back then, grandparents and your great-grandparents, they didn't believe in doctors. They'll whoop you up something, So she went through what she had to go through, and they eventually had to take her from her home and move her into one of those nursing homes. and she didn't want to be there. But she got up one day and she fell. And keep in mind, she had never failed in her life, but she fell. And my mom explained this to me in a letter. My mom said she called her after she managed to get up and said, "Come on and take me. I want to go pick out my dress, my wig, and my casket because I'm finna go home." And my mom was like, what's wrong with you? You talking out the side of your neck?" And she was like, "Well, okay. If you don't come get me, I'm gonna catch the bus and go do it." So my mom, she went on over there and she took her. And she picked out a wig that she wanted to wear. She picked out her dress, and she picked out her casket. And once everything was purchased, she died 2 days later. And right then and there, my mom she changed because that was her best friend. That's who she used to always go to. Because when I got incarcerated, my mom was running track. Now she can barely walk. And we don't understand, like especially now with what's going on, they're not understanding that you're not the only one that's going to be locked up. You're not the only one that's going to go through this. And that's something that, they have to understand. It's a lot of people be affected by bad decisions or some things that, was beyond you, like me, it was beyond me.
Mm-hmm.
When the cards are stacked against you,
Yep.
and you know what cards I'm referring to, ain't nothing you can do.
That seems like a good place to stop. You guys come back for more with me and Brandon Jackson. I am Jared, aka Jarvis D. We'll see y'all again with a Lil Tea Time.